That's what my dad always used to say to me. It's the only thing.
You're up anytime.
Okay, hello, good morning. Welcome to the Indy Boomer Show. I'm Mary Pat McKee. I publish a magazine called Indy Boomer Magazine. I'm sitting here this morning with Jane Malkoff, and we are going to be talking a little bit about her business and some of the things that she does for baby boomers. Before we get started, of course, we always want to thank Jim Wofford Theater, Logan Street Signs and Banners, the Trophy Shop, all that good stuff that allows us to have the show on Indy Boomer Magazine. So we are very grateful for that. Couple different things. We've got the March issue of Larry Bird is still here on the table. As of May 10th, we will have the May issue with Donald Davidson, and you will be able to pick one of those up at any CVS store in Marion and surrounding county CVS stores. So, Jane, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Mary Pat.
We are going to talk about Malkoff and Hughes and what it is that Jane does. Well, really, you do it for baby boomers, but the end result is typically for baby boomers' parents.
That's right. Yes,
So
most
tell us.
typically.
Yeah.
I own a company called Malkoff and Hughes with my business partner, Sharon Hughes. I'm a nurse practitioner. Sharon's a nurse. And you can read about us in the latest Boomer magazine. We have an article there called Nurse Advocates in Your Corner. A lot of the ways that we help people is when they're feeling overwhelmed inside the healthcare system. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have a parent who needs increased care,
Yes.
and they're trying to sort out how to get that care. What are the options? How to select a facility, how to take care of a healthcare crisis, how to step in and advocate for them if their care in a hospital or facility isn't what it should be, or building any sort of plan for themselves or their family members. So we do anything related to planning and trajectory building for older adults and their children, helping them through those changes.
Okay. I can speak from experience. Jane was able to help my family about 5 years ago, it was,
Yeah, that's good.
when my folks were in need of going into a retirement facility. And it's not so much within the healthcare industry as it is if you haven't gone through this experience with your parents and having to navigate your way through so many different arenas, the healthcare being a big one, but there's
That's
the
right.
finance arena and all these different things. Anyway, Jane was able to give us advice as to what to do, really, not just in healthcare, but you helped us to know what we needed to expect from our attorneys, from all different aspects of
I
it.
think a lot of what people face is a fragmentation in the processes. So it's not only, like you mentioned, something that's unfamiliar. You love your family, you want to help them, but the scenarios are so unfamiliar, and it's so fragmented because you have your doctors in the doctor's office, you have maybe a procedure at the hospital, you have a facility, you have different family members trying to work out who needs to do what, you have the financial piece, how do you
Right.
determine how it's going to be paid for, what's the best route to go between VA and Medicaid, who do you go to get that information.
Right.
And so what we've been able to do is become Indiana's leading experts on how do you put all of that together
Right.
so that you look at a person holistically and not as, oh, the person with dementia or, oh, the person with the fractured hip, but how do you put the whole piece together so that you can build a plan that works for each individual. And no two plans are ever the same because of the individual nature.
Well, and I think that's very true and very important that people keep that in mind. Each situation is unique. It's funny you said that, dementia and a broken hip, because when you came to us, we were dealing with two scenarios. One was my mother was in rehab because she broke her hip,
Right.
and then my father was on early onset Alzheimer's. So how do you plan for the future? How do you know what type of facility, if they have to go to one, maybe they can stay home, which is obviously what is always the ultimate goal, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
if it's safe.
Yes, that's a good point. A lot of times families aren't sure what to do. Maybe they see the family doctor 4 times a year for 15 minutes, and somebody they've seen for an hour that year suddenly says, your mother or father should go to assisted living. But not everybody fits in that realm of assisted living. The building
Right.
might be beautiful, but the care may not match the need.
Right.
So
That's it.
we do comprehensive assessment. So we can be involved just as even a one-time intervention to do a comprehensive assessment and help people figure out the trajectory, why they would choose what living environment based on the needs of that individual.
Right. And, I mean, speaking of, well, a couple things we could speak to. One is if they stay at home, again, which is what we hope they can do there's going to be different needs. There may be different types of in-home health that needs to happen, correct?
That's right.
Some may be non-medical, some of them may be skilled nursing coming
Yes.
in, depends. Same thing with the facility. Some facilities are good at this and other facilities are good at that. And again, you can help people figure out.
That's right. Yes, exactly. That's right. There's long-term care policies,
Yep.
there's VA benefits, there's Medicaid waiver, there's private pay, there's your straight insurance and what it will cover, and when it
Right.
stops, how do you go on from there? And then which companies have the best reputations that cover those services under your insurance.
Right.
And it's difficult for people to keep track of that, and so we help with that as well.
Well, how would you know? I mean, like you said, the building can be beautiful, but how do we know that the nurses? That's the guts. That's the inside. That's
right.
important as to what kind of.
And
treatment you're
because
gonna
we
expect.
serve hundreds of people a year, we have a lot of that inside
No, I
information
know you do.
about
I
the
know.
quality that people have received inside in particular buildings. And some buildings that were maybe not doing so well 2 years ago could be at the top of the list now
Yes.
because they've had new administration and changes and they're doing better. And it's all a matter of sorting through each individual's needs and having sort of an outside perspective. We don't work for the doctor. We don't work for the insurance company. We work for you.
You're totally
to
objective.
figure out, yes.
What's going to be the best situation,
Yes.
and I totally agree with that. One thing that we've had, different people on in finance and all these different scenarios, and the one thing that seems to be a common thread is, if you don't know, get an expert. It's worth every penny that you will pay to have somebody who knows what they're doing. Whether it comes to figuring out, do we do trust funds? Do we do stay home, or do we go here and there? I mean, it just makes sense to have that kind of.
Absolutely. You can have a comprehensive assessment with Malkoff and Hughes for less than 2 days in a skilled nursing facility costs.
Oh yeah, definitely. And believe me, it's worth every penny to do so. Let's talk a little bit more about the article that you wrote for the Indy Boomer March issue about the nurse advocacies.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to bring out about Nurse Advocates in Your Corner is that we help create a plan of action to help individuals stay in control of their lives. So we may have somebody call us who arrives on the scene of their father's illness in a hospital to find out maybe a sibling has a different idea of what should happen than they have happen. Or we could arrive on the scene of a family member who says, Mom has fallen and she can't be at home again. I won't tolerate this. But Mom says, I will stay at home. And then there's sort of this conflict. But what most people want is the best thing for their loved one. They're really trying to do the best thing. And so what we're trying to bring out as nurse advocates in your corner through Malkoff and Hughes is that there is a way to work through those problems with the right expertise, with the people that have the right experience for that, to help you think about what's important and the sort of get away from maybe the turmoil of it and really get down to the nitty-gritty of what's going on to help solve the problem. Caring for a loved one is more than a full-time job.
Yes.
And so the stress that brings is tremendous. And so when you reach out to others like us to help you sort through that and sort of take the pressure off of it a little bit, and you start getting options and ideas, and somebody understands what you're going through, it really feels like you have an advocate in your corner, and you feel like you can walk through it now and make the decisions that you're trying to make.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a one-size-fits-all, so it would be nice if you could just go to the doctor and he could say, well, this is what you need to do. But it's not a one-size-fits-all. What would work for you won't work for me, and what works for your mom wouldn't work for my mom. It's very different, and you have to have somebody who can cut through all of that to give you an individual plan to be able to stay in control of the situation.
Right, exactly. You know what? We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back in just a minute. We're going to talk some more about this. Stay tuned.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
We are back. Welcome back to the Indy Boomer Show. I'm Mary Pat McKee. I publish a magazine called Indy Boomer Magazine. I'm sitting here this afternoon, this morning. It's not afternoon. Let's don't rush the day any faster than we have to. With Jane Malkoff from Malkoff and Hughes, and we're talking about nurse advocacy and things like that. But before we get started, I wanted to let people know a couple different things. One is this show is on Hamilton County Radio Monday through Fridays at 6:30 p.m. So if you want to listen to the show, you're welcome to do so at that time. But what I'd like to do right now, Jane, is tell them, how do they get a hold of you?
The best way to reach me is to dial 317-774-0074. You can press option 1 to reach me directly.
Okay. And your website is?
malkofandhughes.com.
Okay, and that is
MALKOFFANDHUGHES.com.
Are you proud of me? I remembered all that.
You did.
Very good. Well, we were talking in the first part of the show about advocacy and how Malkoff and Hughes can help your family figure out what is going to be the best scenario for your elder parents if you are responsible for taking care of them at this time. Something we will also want to kind of talk about. Jane does a lot of speaking engagements, right?
Yes.
And give us some ideas of some of the things you've done.
Well, one of the probably one of the most favorite for the audience is a program I do called Redefining the Doctor-Patient Relationship, helping people understand the history of the healthcare system and where we came from and where we are now with the relationship between doctor and patient, and how to get the most out of that relationship, how to take control of that relationship. And I sort of like to parallel it with, we expect more from our fast food restaurant oftentimes than we expect from our appointment with our doctor, because
Right.
we've grown to accept sort of the way the system has evolved. And so I find the audience really enjoy that. So I've done that several times for Oasis. I'll be speaking at the Long-Term Care Guild, Rocksteady Boxing, PACE, which is the Parkinson's Awareness Association. And I'm happy to bring the series we have on educating people about navigating in the healthcare system, including redefining the doctor-patient relationship. And they can reach out to the malkofandhughes.com or the 774-0074 number to inquire about those presentations. Those are free. We offer them to the public. We will... you can contact us and set a date and time, and we're happy to bring the presentation to your group free of charge.
Okay. Hey, I want to ask you a quick question. You said Parkinson's boxing.
Yes.
You know, someone had mentioned to me, I don't know, a week or so ago, that Scott Newman,
Yes.
used to be Attorney General, I believe, wasn't he, or no?
Prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
Was he the
You're right.
prosecutor?
He was a prosecutor. Has Parkinson's and has started this
Yes.
boxing. Is that correct?
That's right. And what they have found is that when you keep the body moving, and particularly with the boxing and the attitude that it takes with that,
Right.
you improve your quality of life, and oftentimes the amount of quality of life and mobility that you have with Parkinson's disease. And Rocksteady Boxing is a wonderful place. We have many clients with Parkinson's disease who utilize our services to help navigate them through the healthcare system and figure out plans that are best for them. And many of them are participants in the Rocksteady Boxing. We find that people that reach out to us are often people that are prone to reach out to get support, and we attract people who are proactive and want the most they can get out of their
Right.
lives or for their loved ones. And many times our Parkinson's patients are participating in Rocksteady Boxing. So I don't mind being a plug for them. It's a wonderful organization.
No, I think it is too, and I think most people know Michael J. Fox is probably the biggest person that everybody knows that has Parkinson's disease. But I thought it was kind of interesting that doing the physical activity would be something that would actually offset the disease.
Yes.
You know, more so than making it worse than it maybe already is.
That's right. And anytime you sit down with your problem, whether it's Parkinson's or dementia, or anytime you sit down and wish it away or dream it away,
Right.
or hope it goes away, it doesn't solve the problem. So when
Right.
you take active charge of what's going on, like we talked about earlier, and seeking the support of people who may know more than you know about
Right.
it, just to get the help that you need the way you would if your car was broken down. We don't think twice about that, but sometimes when it's our own bodies, we hesitate. It's a little backwards, but Rocksteady is a very good example of that, where people are taking charge of the situation, making the most of it, and fighting back to say, I will stay active and I will do my best to get through this, as hard as it may be. I'm going to hang in there.
It's kind of
So,
inspirational, I think.
Yes.
Very much so.
It's wonderful.
The other thing I want to ask, because I don't know that people are familiar, I'm a little familiar, but tell us, Oasis. What exactly does Oasis do?
Oasis is an organization throughout Indianapolis. They have offices all over town. A lot of them are located actually within Flanner and Buchanan. They use their site to help
really?
bring informational, educational materials to the senior population. And so they set up different programs on all different topics for people to come and listen and hear about it. And you can look them up. You can Google Oasis Indianapolis, and you can find their list of programs and sign up and participate.
Are they a
in
not-for-profit scenario?
I believe so.
Okay. I just wondered. You know, in the first segment, again, we were talking a little bit about caregivers. Do you want to speak to caregivers? And you mentioned the fact that it's, you know, taking care of your parents or taking care of anybody who's in a situation that needs help is a full-time job, and the taxing, how taxing
That's
it can
right.
be.
A lot of times when people come to us for support with how to figure out what to do to help mom or dad, it's because they've exhausted their own inner strength.
Right.
I think we go into caring for our parents or aunts or uncles or even a spouse,
Right.
because we feel committed to that person. And we have this almost like our DNA is telling us, this is what you do, this is how you nurture, this is how we take care of each other. But we no longer live in multi-generational locations. We live in single-family housing, and it's not really designed for us to be the one primary caregiver for one other adult. That in and of itself is a full-time job. So many boomers are doing that in addition to maybe finishing up raising children, working their careers, managing their own home and lawns and finances. And it's a very difficult time. A lot of times it's right at the time where boomers are trying to get their own savings together for their own retirement.
Right.
And then they're dealing with the needs of their parents, and they want to do it. They believe they can do it. They're passionate about it. But the fact is, it's extremely difficult. And we have to be able to reach out to one another. And so some of the research coming out is saying that a caregiver needs 8 hours in a row, no less, where they're not thinking about their caregiving role per week. So it doesn't sound like much, but it's really difficult for a primary
whittle that
caregiver
time
to
out.
whittle it.
Yeah.
Not 2 hours on Monday and 2 hours on Wednesday and 4 hours on Saturday. It's 8 hours in a row to regenerate and get that strength back. And so
I'm surprised it's that low. That low of a number.
it is the starting point for how much it takes to offset some of the stress. It doesn't eliminate, it doesn't address all your needs.
Right.
But it's the research showing that 8 hours in a row is instrumental in you being able to replenish enough to do it. I know very few people who are primary caregivers who do 8 hours in a row.
Wow. That's amazing. I know it's a lot of work. Hey, this time goes so fast, does it
does.
not? It really does. Hey, want to just, if we can, plug Boomer TV. Will be on Sunday morning at 10:30 on Wish, Channel 8. We've got Dan Quayle. Patty Spittler interviews Dan Quayle. We've got a fitness segment with Julie Patterson. Joy Demandon is talking about ageism, which is becoming an interesting little topic, and just a few other little things I hope you will enjoy. So please tune in for that, and of course, be here next Wednesday for Indy Boomer Magazine. We'll see you all at 10 o'clock. Thanks so much.